recap from Indrawan Nugroho, CEO and founder of ACIS. Pak Indra, welcome.
Thank you, Rian. Good afternoon, everyone. So it's me again. I'm Indra, CEO and co-founder of ACIS and also chairman of Asia Corporate Innovation Summit. And I'm purposely taking off my jacket. So hopefully, since this is the final sessions, we can do it more casual. So you can lay back a little bit, and I will recap the whole learnings, all the key points that has been conveyed by each wonderful speakers during the summit. So I will be moderating myself as well. So there won't be any moderator. So if you have any questions you want to ask, please type your questions in the chat box. And I would not be able to represent each speaker to answer the question. So if I may, I would, and if I can, I will answer your questions with my perspective. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, right. So, Rian, can you see my slide? Just to be sure. Is it good? It says recaps and way forward. Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Yeah.
So at the end of this session, I will also share my perspective on how we should move forward during this pandemic as a learning of the journey that we are together during the summit, right? And I will not recap the summit in terms of session by sessions, but instead I'm going to use this. So this is the graph that I just made to help us truly see every single messages and key points during the summit in one big perspective, you see. Okay, let me explain about this just for a minute. If you see on the left side is the pre-COVID and on the right side is the post-COVID. We are now in the middle. COVID began in Indonesia early this year in February and March, and that would be here. So this is the point where we start the journey of everything what we are doing in this pandemic, right? And we know that in just matter of weeks and months, then the industry just plunged, right? We starting losing customers. We could not operate even the business, and some companies even have to lay off employees. So what we focus on during the early days of the pandemic is surviving, making sure that we can float, not sunk. But nowadays, people are beginning to talk about rebound. Hope emerges. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And now the mood of the nation, if not the world, is recovery. And that's where we are now. We are trying to recover from all the pains that occurs in the past months. And what is interesting is that a lot of experts and consultants, they predict that when we are starting to leave this pandemic behind us, we will see some companies actually not just survive the COVID, but actually grow after the pandemic. They actually thrive after the pandemic. And that is why I put the graph is going up like that. And of course, we all wish to be those companies who's not just survive, who's not just being able to float during the pandemic, but we can all coming out of this pandemic thriving, which means better than when we enter the pandemic. The biggest question is how? Well, the speakers during this summit has shared a lot of points, lessons learned, experiences that show us how we can achieve that. And I hope this recap will help you to see the whole summit in just one simple graph like this. I'm going to put all the key points into this simple graph. Okay, so there are 3 phases that we have to go through in order for us to be thriving at the end of this pandemic journey. And the first phase is consolidating. So we need to consolidate internally first before we are doing anything else, making sure that we are ready for whatever worse that might come ahead of us. And secondly, once we are able to consolidate internally, so we are strong to actually starting to move on and even fight the pandemic and try something new, then we should start discovering opportunities. And once we have done that, so we should focus on capturing those opportunities. And when we are able to do that, the likeliness of us to thrive after the pandemic becomes higher. Now, let's talk about all the key points that our wonderful speakers have shared with us. I'm going to start with consolidate. So these are the key points that help us to consolidate internally within our organizations, making sure that we are ready to move to the second phase, which is discover. We will begin with Pak Sumarjono. Pak Sumarjono shared this graph about the increase of unemployment in Indonesia. And that really put pressure to BPJS Ketenagakerjaan, not only because the claim is higher, but also there are restrictions that are imposed to all businesses in Indonesia that limit them in their ability to serve the members, the customers. So you can imagine that the demand for the claim is going very high, and yet you are limited in serving your customers. Luckily, with BPJS Ketenagakerjaan is even before the pandemic began, they have already started digital transformations. So when the pandemic hits, what they did was merely accelerate the process. And they actually the infrastructure for innovating was already there. So they used that infrastructure to create new innovation to solve problems during the pandemic, to find ways to keep serving the customers during the pandemic. And they end up having Lapagasi. They also do remote working. Yeah. So this is Lapagasi. So Lapagasi is actually a technology where all the BPJS members can claim using their mobile phones. They can also claim through their companies. They can also claim directly to the office, but it was all managed in health protocol, right? So what Pak Sumarjono said to us during his presentation is mainly this. Yes, for all those companies who have started digital transformation before the pandemic, it's much easier actually for them to respond to whatever happened during the pandemic. But if you're not those type of companies who have starting digital transformation before the pandemic, it's still possible. How's that? Well, you can see BPJS Ketenagakerjaan has tens, thousands of employees and serving millions of Indonesians in 17,000 different islands of Indonesia. And if BPJS Ketenagakerjaan can pull this off, so I believe your company can too. And we also learned from Amit Kar from Afefa. What I like about his session is that his analogy of an organization as a human body. You see, when we we walk around and we accidentally step on thorn, duri, or sharp objects, whatever that is, what happened instantly is that we move away from the cause of the pain, right? And then we analyze the pain almost instantly, and then we rectify the problem almost instantly. So imagine if your organizations can be like that. So whenever problems occur within your organizations, somehow you will be able to detect that and provide immediate response to rectify the problems before it gets bigger. Is that possible? Well, Amit say yes, it is. It is very, very possible. In fact, you can have this digital twin of everything you do in your organizations. You have all these beautiful charts and graphs and dashboards, so you know exactly what happened in your company. You can project what's going to happen in the future. You can simulate everything you need to simulate, so you can reduce the cost and respond immediately to everything that happens around you. So imagine if you have this before the pandemic. I think you're going to be quite okay during the pandemic. But what if you do not have this before the pandemic? Then is it too late? No. Amit say no. There is still room for you to actually starting to build your organizations as a human body. The technology is there. All we have to do is start adopting them piece by piece. Okay. The third speaker I like to recap here is Christophe Piganiol from APL. He talked about culture. With a proper culture, any organizations can survive anything, including the biggest crisis of our life, such as the pandemic. But he also mentioned that culture doesn't happen in a night. You have to build it over time. So for those companies who already have a strong innovation culture before the pandemic, then it should be much easier for them to endure the pandemic, because the people are already ready to adopt, to find new ways of doing things. But what if not? What if your company, those companies who not focusing too much on innovation culture? Then what do you do? Well, there is still a way. In fact, pandemic is the best catalyst for creating innovation culture. Why? Because you have no choice. You either have that culture or you're going to sink. So everybody has the incentive to act innovatively, to change, to transform. So why not use this moment of pandemic as the burning platform for your company to start building culture? And he uses this 4 steps to help your company build innovation culture. You have to go back to school, you learn from the expert, you build the mindset, all the fundamental stuff, and then you start identifying issues. Some of us actually deny issues because we don't like it. So you have to open everybody's eyes and generate consensus, etc., etc. I'm not going to explain all this. You can watch the video later on. We need about 1 to 2 weeks to upload it to YouTube. So you can always go back and listen to all the speakers, right? So I'm here just to give you a recap and a sense of how each speakers, each messages can tie in together. Okay, we also have to address the issues, and finally, we have to celebrate every single thing that happened within the company, whether it is a success or it is a failure. And this is example given by Christophe about how they actually do it in their organizations. It's quite a lot. It's quite a lot. Okay. Lastly, just now we just learned from Pak Arif Mustaim. He's from Indosat Uredo about another challenges in terms of consolidating your team, the way of working in your organizations, in order for your organizations to be able to survive and then keep doing your best to your customers. He mentioned during his session about companies who has top-down culture. In Indonesia or most Eastern countries, we have this paternalistic culture, right? And so top-down is very natural to us. But that top-down culture is actually can be hazardous because organizations with hardcore top-down culture, they have hard times in responding quickly during the pandemic. He also talked about KPIs. During this pandemic, during any crisis, KPIs somehow can be dangerous because it sets your employee to a myopic perspective, very short-sighted, discouraging them or perhaps putting them away from what actually needed to be done. But when it's not in their KPI, then they were not going to do it. So that is the dangerous part of the KPI during the pandemic. He also talked about having employees on the ground, that is the super most important, very crucial role in delivering values to customers. So making sure that we know, we understand, we can sense everything that happens in the ground with our customers so that we can respond quickly. And when we are able to do that, then the likeliness of our organizations to not just survive, but then thrive will be higher because that we really care, that we really understand them. Okay, we also have sessions. These sessions is a quick talks, mostly from CIAS consultants and also our friends that talk more technically about what we should do in consolidating our team, our organizations in order to survive and recover during the pandemic. This is a slide by Taufik Mardian. He talked about creating an agile ways of working, the customer centricity, collaborativeness, and cadence. I'm not going to go into any details, but mainly what he says is it's not rocket science. So if you want to be agile, there is a way to do it, and it's not that hard. All you have to do is the willingness to actually embrace agile and a bit of support from your top management, and you will have agile. We have Adip Rahmanto as well. He's also a consultant at CIAS, talks about work automations. During the pandemic like this, where everybody panics and we have to do something new, we have to search for things that we haven't done before, then human employees should not do all the routine tasks, manual tasks. Let those routine and manual tasks be done by robots, by programs, by software. Let the human use their creativity to explore new ways of serving the customers, of solving problems which robots cannot do. And that's where work automation really important today during the pandemic. We also learned from Nigel. Nigel is the co-founder of Astronaut. He's showing an example of how we can leverage technology to help us do routine work much easier. Also, Pop School, Chandra Marsono also talk about that as a tool to help us do the things that we could not do during the pandemic because, first we have to reduce costs. Secondly, it's impossible for us to go anywhere. So these are just the two examples of how technology can actually make our work better and release employees from having to do something that technology can do. So let the employees do something that is only human can do. Creative thinking, problem solving, understanding customers, serving customers. Right. Lastly, still about consolidating your organizations and the team within your organizations. This is a session by Teh Aisyah. We call her Teh Aisyah. He's also a consultant at CIAS. He's a psychologist. She taught us how to manage our emotions, especially the negative emotions, because that's what happens when you are in a crisis. Normally, we have all these negative emotions, and that emotion can block whatever intelligence that you have. You might be the smartest person in your company, but when your emotion gets in the way, then you can't use that brain, right? There will be no innovations at all. So you have to deal with your emotion first before you can actually innovate. And this is something we don't see, but we feel it every single day, right? Okay, so assume that you have done all that, right? You start working on digitalizing your processes. You also find new ways of working, starting adapting. You focus on the people on the ground to listen to the customers. You use all this technology to work to do all the routine works, and all the people have been able to manage their emotions. When you have all that, then your organization is ready to go for the next phase, which is discovering opportunities, of course. And Michelle Hamilton talked a lot about this. So during the pandemic, we know that everything changes. Customer preferences changes, market shifted. So what we need to do is toss away all our assumptions, all our understandings about our customers and market, because they are no longer relevant. So we have to start from zero. We have to start listening again to the customer. We have to observe the customer again, because the expectation change, what they want change, what they need change. And then since the problem has changed, so we have to come up with new solutions, right? So this is what he's actually saying, is that we have to start from zero again. Okay, so ditch all the assumptions, ditch all the solutions, because they are no longer relevant. So start over again. Start by understanding and trying to find a way to solve your customer's problem. And he mentioned these 5 as a requirement for us to be able to discover opportunities during the pandemic. Number 1 is be a customer-centric organization. I'm not going to go into any details of this. You can watch the video later on. Number 2 is staying close to your customers. Number 3 is data-driven on anything we do. So do not use your assumptions. You have to decide based on data. And you need to prepare special unit to accelerate changes. Now, that is important. And it's quite interesting when he speak about this, because the other speaker also talk about the same thing, that you can't rely on everybody to innovate fast. Some people in your organizations cannot innovate fast. They don't have to even. They can focus on doing the same thing over and over again, just make it faster or cheaper. You don't need to do anything else. But you know that unless you are finding something new, then you're not going to solve any of your customers' problem, right? So what you do is you pick the champions among the employees, and then you make them as a special unit. And number 5 is embrace Agile and experimental culture. So we talk about Agile very often during the summits, and also experimental culture. Now, Derek Williamson here, what I like about his presentations is, first of all, is the title. Elephants cannot climb tree. I think I had quite a different understanding at the beginning, but then I understand after he explained it during his presentations, that I thought that he's going to say that elephant actually can climb trees, but no. So he said that elephants cannot climb trees. So do not expect elephant to climb trees. So if your company, your organization is big like an elephant, then don't expect that organizations to climb trees, which is doing something different, doing something new, doing something against the nature of that big organizations. What big organizations like elephants can do, the best they can do is picking up low-hanging fruits. So something that is closely in front of them, making money quickly, getting a quick win, capturing opportunity that is obvious in front of them. You can measure the ROI. But for the high-hanging fruit, elephants cannot do. So you need Becky. That's what Derek used the analogy of Becky. Becky is the bird on the back of the elephant. You need to have Beckies. Beckies move fast, and they can reach places elephants cannot reach. So having the mix between an elephant and Becky and how they interact one another is key, according to Derek Williamson, for any companies to be able to innovate during the pandemic and beyond. And he shared us his insight. Number 1 is that customer behavior changes will support growth in small to medium enterprises, which will become slow death for large organizations. So this is quite interesting. I leave it to you to interpret what he's saying. Number 2 is brand value deterioration will result in lower profit margin for elephant, but they will survive. So the margin will be slimmer and slimmer. They will survive, but they're not going to be as rich as before, unless they find new value propositions. He also said that innovation can be built or be bought. So You don't have to build your own technology. You can always buy technology, but again, don't just use ACIS because your competitors can also buy the same technology. You have to find ways to mix that technology with whatever ideas or innovations you have in order to deliver the highest value to your customers. He also gives us final notes. If your organizations want to succeed, then everybody within the organizations must take role. The lower part of the organizations, they have to come up with lots of ideas, and then the middle management should select those ideas, and the top management should support and provide resources for those ideas. Innovation success rate is 10%. So he advised that CEO, top leaders must take control. They have to champion the innovations. They don't just rely on people in the bottom to come up with innovation. And he also say that a success innovation coach such as Chias can support you. So thank you, Derek. Okay, and about discovery, Lendi Yuwarlian also talked a lot about how we can discover those opportunities around us during the pandemic. He gave us the 3 framework: people, business, and purpose. So by people means that you really need to be transparent to everyone in your organizations, because transparency helps them ease the panic. There will be less panic. They will be less anxious if they know what's happened. They can see where the company is going. He also said that business continuity is very important. So we need to reassess situation, prioritize action, unlock resources. And lastly, he mentioned about purpose. When your organization is guided by a clear purpose, then that will help a lot. That will align every single soul in your organizations to move toward the same goal. He talks a lot about accelerating innovation, and he mentioned these 3 important techniques. One is rapid prototyping, and secondly is generational approach, and 80% perfect rule. That is most interesting, I think. Don't go for 100% perfect. So perfection is the enemy of innovation. So as long as you get 80% right, then go ahead, launch it. You can perfect it along the way. Just now, Pak Salman Subakat also shared about value-driven company. So for a value-driven company, what innovation strategy actually looks like. So Wardah or Paragon is a value-driven company. And they believe, Pak Salman, he believed that innovation should be based on value. It is about speed, yes, but the question is what to catch and how to catch the issues or the opportunity is always refer back to the true values that you believed in. He talked a lot about the Paragon's value, and he also show examples how those values actually manifest in their products and their services and how they do business. Wonderful session. He also said that innovation should also based on customer needs. Innovating like startup, if you go to Paragon, actually you're gonna see, I think 90% of employees there are millennials. You rarely see people older than me. So if I go there, I'll be I think one of the oldest person there. Innovation also born by collaboration. So you need to put different employees from different backgrounds, different expertise, different functions work together, and from there, innovation will bloom. Okay, so that is the discover phase. So when you have reached this discover phase, meaning that you are able to see opportunities around you. You also see challenges around you, and you're beginning to have a compass or where your company should go, which market to go to, which problem to solve, which customer you need to satisfy their needs. And you are able to see that within the context of your competitive advantage. Then it is time to go for the next phase, which is capture those opportunities. And how do we do that? So we learn, first of all, from Pak Edwin Sugianto. First of all, of course, we need to be able to see COVID-19 not just as a challenge. It is something horrible. we never wish this to happen, but it happens. So rather than just talking about it just as a challenge, why not see it as an opportunity as well? There is always, he said, that there's always a positive side of the pandemic. And for you to be able to capture opportunity within that pandemic, he advised these 3 things that needs to be interrelated. You have to integrate these 3 things. 1 is customer experience. Number 2 is digital ecosystems and sociopreneurship. So if you integrate all these 3, he believed that we're going to be able to capture every single opportunities during the pandemic. So this is the what he called the customer experience. So again, I'm not going to go into any details. You can watch the video later on. And then he also say about the ecosystem. So you have to build the API, internal process automation, people capability, KPI marketing. This is the ecosystem that allows you to actually deliver the best customer experience. But also important for us to put ourselves as a contributing elements to the society around us, because that gives us purpose, that gives us meaning in working, and that meaning fuels your energy to keep moving forward during the pandemic. And he gave an example of this program by AXA Mandiri General Insurance. Okay, moving on to Pa Eng Teng Wong. Now, this is very interesting session because he showed us what he and his team had done in Prudential for their customers. So instead of just focusing on how can we make more money out of our customers, they focus on how can we help our customers solve their problem. And he understands that in many countries, especially in developing countries, we do not have enough resources to provide sufficient public health services. So why not we help them? That's the basic idea of the Pulse by Prudential. So they created this super app, which requires super tribe. So a lot of people within the organizations, which is coming from different backgrounds, they have to collaborate and then build this in a very short period of time. Everyone from top management, business person, developers, engineers, frontliners, they have a common mindset and spirit, and then build this product not just as a one-off project, but a continuous value they will want to deliver. So what I find interesting at his session is not the app itself, but what the app did for the company. Because of the app, or at least the idea of creating a super app to help not just the customers, but also everyone around the world, because the app can be accessed by anybody in the world, gives very strong purpose for everyone in the company. So for employees who probably starting to think about saving themselves during the pandemic, make sure I do not get fired, so I don't want to do anything risky. I just want to go through this and hopefully things will be better in a few months. So those mentality change because of this app. I think that's how I see it. So this super app gives employees purpose. And that purpose transcends boundaries of departments. So marketing and people from IT, for example, they don't get along sometimes. Now they get along. People from different levels of organizations, the CEO, the managers, the frontliners, sometimes they don't get along. They now get along. Why? Because they are on the same mission to help people. So extraordinary things happens when you set yourself to help others. Wow, that's he didn't say this. He didn't say all this, but that's my takeaway from his presentation. We have Pak Teguh Wahyono. He's the CTO and IT Director of PT PAGuardian, which is PT PAGuardian is a great state-owned enterprise. They have been working on digital transformation for some times. So when the pandemic hits, they actually not, if it's a boat, then the boat actually, that, you know, it stays like that. So nothing can, as if nothing can rock the boat, right? They have this enable, elevate, excellence. This is sort of like the triple sprint that they have been implemented way before the pandemic. And this is so inspirational in a way that, you know, this is a state-owned enterprise, right? The pawn shop, imagine this is a pawn shop. Okay, if a pawn shop can pull this thing off, I believe you can too. This is the biggest pawn shop in the world. Patego said that. So again, if a pawn shop is so dedicated in working on digital transformations, in building the capacity of the employee, in changing the way they work, they go providing new services. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. I'm just gonna show you the slides. I mean, you can see by yourself. For those of you who missed his session, so I put up his slides, so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the things that they have been doing even before the pandemic, and during the pandemic they do it. It's like on steroids. So they do it faster, better, harder. Okay, they also work on customer expansions. They actually, you know, reaching out for people that they haven't touched before, and that is even more so during the pandemic. They diversify the products, and when asked what next for PAGuardian, there's plenty actually on their roadmap, from blockchain, RPA, omni-channel experience, fully digital gold business, and etc. So this is so inspirational in terms of, wow, we can actually do that. I mean, if they can do it, then we can do it. I mean, this is Indonesian pawn shop again. So if you are coming from multinational companies or technological companies or companies with most of them are young people, I think you can do maybe even better. Pak Rahmat talk about digital economy, Bukalapak, right? So what I like about what he says that e-commerce has democratized commerce. So now everybody has access to the market. And what I find interesting is that Bukalapak doesn't stop there. They expand, not just selling physical products, but starting to sell virtual products, even services and payments, right? Well, they have been planning to do that for a long time, but during the pandemic, they see that there's a much bigger opportunity there because people cannot go outside. They cannot use their normal payment system, for example. So why not just full throttle, double down on that? So they see the pandemic as an opportunity and then want to capture that opportunity. They also expand from just online platform to online to offline platform with Mitra Bukalapak. And what I like most about his presentations is that he talked a lot about purpose, fair economy for all. Fair economy for all. That's a great purpose. You want to help every single Indonesian to have a chance at the economy. There is a challenge though. There's always a challenge, and his challenge is, well, there is an increase in demand, but the question is, how can you educate new users? Because he mentioned about there are older people who never used the app before, starting to use the app because they have no choice. So how do you educate them? And at the same time, you have to keep your existing customers happy. So this is a happy problem, I think, for Pak Rahmat and his team, and also other players in the e-commerce industry. But I believe that will open up new ways of serving customers, and at the end, it is customers, us, that we benefited from their innovation. All right, so there is all the recap. So I will quickly share about the way forward. So what do we learn and what do we need to do? That are the two questions I wish I can answer in this just one simple slide with 5 key points. Number one is we all know now that digital transformation is imperative. Every single speaker speaks about the importance of digital transformation, and there are ways of doing it. You don't have to do it like what Amit Kar said. You don't have to as massive as PAGuardian. You can start your own digital transformations, but you got to do it. It is no longer an option. And then it is a perfect time during the pandemic because everybody has no choice, because it is a burning platform, right? If you wait until the pandemic over, then you're going to be late. Not only because other people, other places have already done it, but you do not have the momentum once the pandemic is over. So you better do it now. Yeah. Number two is every single speaker says that customer behaviors and preferences will forever change. For some of us who would think that, okay, maybe after the pandemic, they will still want to go to our place and purchase our product directly, pay using the same method of payment because, you know, everybody can see each other again and we can go back normal as it used to be. That is not going to happen. Once the expectation change, once the preferences change, and once they know that it's much simpler to do it this way, it's much convenient to do it this way, they would not go back to do it the old ways. And that goes for banking, that goes for commerce, that will also do for schools, even educations. So if in your strategy, you're gonna if in your strategy, your business strategy stated that let's just wait until the pandemic is over, and then we will double down on doing the things that we are good at doing before the pandemic. That spells trouble because you are doubling down on something that is no longer relevant. Okay. Number three. Business strategy and even perhaps business theories will be divided into pre-COVID and post-COVID. So for people who studies business at schools or universities, maybe all the journals, all the theories that you learn, that the theories is developed before the pandemic might no longer be relevant. So it is time for us to actually redefine everything, redefine innovation, redefine employee engagement, redefine about customer experience, redefine about digitalizations, because, well, nothing is the same anymore. There's only pre-COVID and post-COVID. Pre-COVID, we all know, it's all in the books. But post-COVID, we don't know. So it is our time to write that theory, to write the history. So isn't that interesting? Number four, innovation is not an event. If there is one thing about innovations that I learned from all the wonderful speakers these past 3 days is everyone is saying, even though it's not literally saying, but they implied this, innovation is not an event. So if you think that just by having a hackathon or competitions of innovations or some jingles about innovations, then you will have this innovation culture and everybody's starting to try something new and explore opportunities. No, that's not going to happen because, again, innovation is not an event. Nowadays, it is actually how we do business. So innovation is not like a department. Innovation is not like a technique. It's not a program. It is your business. It is how you do business. It's innovation, right? It is. You cannot separate innovations with business. That's very strong, but every single speaker implies so. Last is, I'm going to re-quote Derek Williamson, innovation consultants such as CIAS can certainly help. Thank you again, Derek. Mohon maaf ya, jadi agak promosi sedikit. But this is not, I didn't say this. Derek Williamson said this. Again, don't take this journey alone. There are people out there. that can help you. Sometimes we need somebody outside the organizations to see, to convince, to facilitate the process. It's not because you are not capable. It's just because perhaps there are too many politics, prejudice, assumptions that inhibit all these bright people from doing what they need to do. And sometimes we need somebody outside to show us different ways of doing things, to facilitate us experience something completely new for us to actually understand, and for us to actually be able to convince the bosses and do something that actually becomes real innovations. Okay, so I'm not going to talk more about the number 5 because that will sounds like I'm selling things. Right? Okay, so that's it. I think that's my presentation. I'm gonna stop sharing my presentation. So do I have any questions? Just maybe somebody asked me questions. Okay, so no questions. Well, let me check. Great. So no questions for me. Phew. As a chairman of Asia Corporate Innovation Summit, I would like to thank you all, every single attendees. We have more than 1,500 people registered for the event, and they are not only from Indonesia. We have attendees from Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei Darussalam, Thailand, Vietnam, and China, Hong Kong, Australia, USA, Middle East, in Canada. So there are a diverse background for the attendees. So we're really happy. Not all of them attended all the sessions, of course. So they attended the sessions that will be relevant for them only. But that's fine, because you see, we can imagine if everybody in the world have the same passions of learning, of sharing, of doing innovations, I think we can getting out from this pandemic quite soon, and we'll be in a better world, inshallah. So again, thank you so much for attending these sessions, this summit, and hopefully we can see each other again in Asia Corporate Innovation Summit 2021 next year. And I would like to, I have 5 minutes left, so I would like to convey my deeply gratitude to all the CHIAS team who has worked so hard in making this happen. As always, there are troubles, technical issues, which I think some of you experience. But they managed to work all of that. I mean, wonderful team. I really love my team. So first of all, I would like to thank the founders of CHIAS. Beside me, we have Pak Wahyu here. Yes, Mas Taufik here as well. Round of applause for Pak Taufik. He's the CEO of CHIAS, also the founder of CHIAS. We also like to thank our beautiful Ketua Panitia, the organizing committee, Mbak Tiwi, Endang Pratiwi. So thank you so much. Mbak Endang Pratiwi, can you stand in front of the camera so everybody can see you, how wonderful you are? Yes, that's her. That's her. Unfortunately, she's wearing mask, because if not, well, you are going to fall in love with her, sure, every single one of you. Okay, keep your distance, okay? I also like to thank you, our liaison officer, Tika Sudarto, Haris Ali Akbar, Selvi Susanti, and Aziz Muzakir. Most of them are still at home, so they are working on this event at home, but some of them are at CHIAS office. So what you are seeing is not green screen. That's the actual office of CHIAS. Okay, that's Aziz Muzakir over there. Also, I would like to thank our promotion team, Dia Sally. If you are there at the office, can you stand in front of the camera? And also M. Haidar and Aji Kunto Wibisono. So thank you so much. Yes. We should have some music.
we should put on some music.
Also, I'd like to thank our sales team. Yes, our sales team, Reza Restuhadi and Selvi Susanti. If you are there, you can You can go there. Oh, you can, yep, you can turn on your camera. That's fine. Yes, that's Reza, and selfie is coming up soon. I'd like to thank also our technical and IT support, Yotam Aminandap, Adit Rahmanto, and Dwi Ishak. Thank you so much, guys. Also, our Minister of Ketahanan Pangan, Food and Beverages, Rizky Sandi, for providing us with all these wonderful meal and vitamins. And also, our co-creators as speakers at ACIS, Aisyah Yuhadi Danur, Mas Taufik Madian, Adip Rahmanto, Miss Fia, thank you so much, Dwi Ishak, and Irma Himmatul Aliyah. And of course, our dear host, Rian Hadinata. Round of applause. So, Mas Taufik, do you have something to say? We have about 1 minute left to go before we close.
Everything is ordered by you, Mas Indra.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends all over Asia, corporate innovators, wherever you are, this is not the end of our learning journey. We have plenty of learning experience that are awaiting. Next month, we have this Design Thinking Express, which is a very good experiential design thinking workshop. You should check out at the booth, and then you will get special discount over there. We also have CIFO. CIFO is Corporate Innovators Forum, where every 2 months we ask practitioners in the innovation field, corporate innovation field, to share their knowledge and experiences. We have the master classes for innovations. And I think you should just check out our website, www.cias.co, and just find out everything there. Okay, so again, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful journey with all of you, and I'll see you next year. Back to you, Rian. Rian, we cannot hear your voice. Oh, maybe because it's the mask.
Okay, check. Can you hear me now? Okay, cool.
Yes,
I put my mask on because a lot of people here, just to make sure that everything's in a good condition. Again, I want to say thank you for everyone who support this event happens. This is just half of the committee. This is just half of the people who support this amazing event. Rest of the people work from home, work from anywhere, just to make sure that this amazing event can deliver in the right time, in the right quality, and in the right value for all of our lovely attendees. Can you give an applause, please, guys? Woo! So, of course, we want to say thank you for all of the attendees since the day one. Thank you for all of the speakers, 18 amazing speakers. Thank you for all of the committee. And thank you so much. We want to see you on the next event of CIAS and enable innovation.
Thank you, guys. Oh, I can see I forgot to mention April over there, and also Uncle Slamet over there as well. So thank you. Thank you for supporting us. Okay, so thank you, Rian. Thank you, Mas Taufik. I'll see you guys next year.